Okay, so this is the second half of the intro video, unboxing video for the Spring 2020 ME30 kit. The first thing you need to be especially aware of is because parts of the kit were assembled with leaded solder, not lead-free solder, you should wash your hands immediately after using your kit and keep your fingers out of your body, any holes, until you've done so. Also, for a similar reason, I don't recommend that you leave your kit unattended with, say, a younger sibling who wants to play with it, because they're even less likely to be careful about that. So don't leave your kit around, and keep it in the box, and wash your hands early and often. Similar to rule number 1 is you should avoid touching the components that are on top of the boards directly. For the most part, everything you're going to interact with has some sort of plastic piece on it, like the buttons and the jumper here, which you'll see why you need that in the next video. And laser pointer, no reason to touch that. But both knobs here, plastic pieces. So when moving the kit, picking the kit up, pick it up by the side. Don't grab it like this or point out things with the fleshy part of your finger, because that's likely to get some sort of contaminants both on the board and parts of the board back on your fingers again. So stick to the button tops and the dials, the knobs. I do not recommend picking the kit up by any of the wires or the laser pointer. It's okay to pick it up by the knob. It's particularly useful to be able to do that perhaps when getting it out of the box and sticking it back in. The knob's okay. The reason for this is because not only can you break a wire or the connector that the wire is connected to, in the case of the laser pointer wires, they're stuck into these spring-loaded holes right here in this connector, and it's not impossible to get them back in, but sometimes they can be a little fiddly. So if for some reason the wires do come out, let me know and I can help you get them back in. The springs are actually pretty tight, and the internals of the connector, they're actually staged in such a way that it's not intuitively obvious how to stick the wires back in to what depth to get it to make the electrical connection inside. So if for some reason your wires do come out, let me know in lecture, or I can swing by a lab sometime and get your wires connected back in. As I mentioned in the earlier video, please keep that packing material in your kit when it's stored in the box. So otherwise it's going to bang around, and it should be fairly obvious why you don't want that to happen, but keep that wad of paper in there, or grab a sock or an old t-shirt or a small rodent to take up the extra space to keep the kit from jostling around. I also recommend when connecting and disconnecting the USB cable that you kind of grab the kit from the front and the back like that and hold the kit firmly when inserting the connector, and when removing the connector, pull it straight out. Try and resist the urge to wiggle it out. That's eventually going to wear out either the cable head or the connector inside. Cables are cheap, only a couple of bucks, but essentially with a broken USB connector, you've pretty much rendered most of the board useless, unless you've got a specific way of connecting up to your project. It pretty much is ruinous to the feather board if you damage the USB connector. The recommended order for me to connect the kit up is I always connect the kit side up. It gives you the more degrees of freedom to wrangle the kit around. So I connect the kit side first, and then I connect the other end into the laptop. This has the dual purpose of making sure that the kit's unpowered while you're actually handling it, which could prolong the life of your kit too. If you were to be handling any of the connectors inadvertently while power's on. So this end goes in last when powering it up, and this comes out straight and last when breaking your kit down to stick back in the box. As I mentioned also in the intro kit, if you didn't get a USB cable from me, which I guarantee you is a data sync cable, that if you're trying to use a micro B cable with, say, from like a cell phone or a tablet or something, tablets are almost certainly going to have the data cable, the data wires in it, but a number of cables used for phones don't necessarily have the data wires in them. They're just for charging the phone only. So you'll find out why in the first lab that you need those data wires in there, but suffice it to say that there's no other way of getting your programs from your laptop onto this kit without a cable that has data wires in it. I highly encourage you during the course of the semester, there's no reason to take the accessory boards, the feather wings, out of the baseboard, so just leave them in for the entire semester. Once you get to 106, there may be reason for you to occasionally during the course of the semester to plug in boards and remove the boards from your baseboard, but there's no reason to do that here in ME30, so leave your whole kit together for the whole duration of the semester. And I'll probably post another video at the end of some helpful hints and guidance as to how to actually insert and remove these boards from the baseboard so that you limit the damage you're likely to do to any of them. So feel free, like I said, the box is in the intro video is fairly large. There's plenty of room in here to store the USB cable under the kit, especially because the board or the kit is on stilts. So there's plenty of room here to just go ahead and store the kit in like this, and then the water paper or socks or whatever would go in after it. And the last thing is avoid touching any of the board with anything metallic besides just scraping things up. If the board's powered up, you can actually short circuit the connections on the board. I've been fortunate. You'll learn this once you start using things in 106, but you'll often be using these little connector wire to maybe jumper connections together. I always recommend in 106 doing that with the power off, but in general you should only be handling the kit except for interacting with it with the power off. So in any demonstration videos, I always make sure the kit's off, or if it's on, I actually have some non-conductive tweezers that I'll point things out. But anything metallic should not come in contact with the board. So you know, it's pretty hard to do it with a ring or whatever to short connections off, but short connections out. But one thing that can happen is with pieces of metal like this, if you've got something under the kit and you put it down, you can actually short the connections that are on the underside of the board. Similarly, spiral-bound notebooks have that metal spine usually, and I've seen students many times with their boards being live just put the kit down on top of their notebooks over that spiral. So that can also basically destroy all or part of your kit if you're really lucky, or unlucky as the case may be. If the kit was powered up and you managed to do that, you can endanger your kit. So, like I said, first and foremost, after handling a kit, go wash your hands. It's always a good idea, but it's especially a good idea when handling electronics. So that is the end of this video. Enjoy your kit.